Alrighty. So we're very, very, very happy to have you all. Alright. So, without further ado, why don't we begin, because we're going to honor Srila Prabhupada's thing. So, Meghna, do you think you can scroll? Oh, do you hear? Was that the baby cry? That's what I heard. Oh, I think Connie and my baby sounded alike there for a second. So no problem. All together, these are some prayers. We're trying to invoke the mercy of the Gurus so that we can take some divine spiritual wisdom and apply it to our lives and be very much benefited, and only by their mercy. For they are carrying the Lord's mercy, they're the Lord's messengers, and we humbly go before them to try and receive that mercy. So this prayer goes as follows. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishnu Samitam Yena Bhutale Swayamruva Bhadravayam Dadati Swadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padadamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Panditam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lita Shri Vishnu Bhagavatam Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanchara Radhavasute Tatthata Janagarangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwani Sute Devi Pramani Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarvishya Vipasya Vedacha Patitam Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vaidika Shri Asari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Beautiful. Teacher, Hare Krishna. Nadia, Hare Krishna. Haribol. So we just brought a new friend of yours to the world. I look forward to you meeting him. So we're just saying we'll have a name-giving ceremony. We were going to have it on May 10th, but it's graduation day, so now we may have to reevaluate what is the most appropriate thing. But anyhow, today we're doing Nectar of Instruction. This is our kind of theme on Wednesday right now. What's that? Oh, Nadia. I thought it was Kumari. I was like, yes, Kumari. Very good. So we're in Nectar of Instruction. And, okay, we talked about some really nice things. So we'll start here today. But these are the principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. We were talking about for the many weeks the importance of finding somebody, a teacher. We need to find a teacher. I was just reading today, it was a purport from Srila Prabhupada in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, how he is emphasizing over and over again how important it is that we find a spiritual teacher. And if we think that we're above the idea of finding a spiritual teacher, we don't need to surrender to the process, then we are leaving ourselves bereft of the Lord's mercy. There's always prophets, messengers of the Lord, and these are the people leading us closer to the Lord. That's their duty. We're not all so special where the Lord is personally coming just for us and He'll walk us through every single thing. He sends His messengers, and it gives us something to do. As those devoted to God, it gives us something to do. If the Lord was just going to take care of everything all the time, and He is taking care of everything all the time, but if He was just going to do everything, what would be the point of life? We're giving free will so we can actually have some purpose, have some pleasure actually. So, we talked about controlling the senses, finding someone who's controlled in their eating, vacho vegam, their speaking, actually vacho vegam, manasa krota vegam, their mind. Their mind is always focused on the Lord. Krota, their anger, they're not angry unless the Lord is being blasphemed or the Lord's people or the devotees are being blasphemed, then this makes them angry. That's okay. Jiva vegam, they control their tongue. They're not eating too much unnecessarily. Udarapasta vegam, their belly and their genitals, they use properly, only for the Lord's service. I don't want to elaborate on that. And jiva vegan, all these urges, or etan vegan, all these urges, yo vishaheta diraha, one must tolerate them if one is sober and wise. So this teacher will have these qualities. He will be controlled in all these ways. And then sarvam apimam prativim sashishyat. Such a person can actually teach people all over the world. They can make disciples all over the world. And then last week, or the last few weeks, we started doing the things that are unfavorable to devotional service. What is ruining? If you imagine, we just, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are downstairs with my wife and son, and they just bought us a bunch of plants to grow. So I have to go out and plant, actually, the placenta, you bury this placenta. You've heard of this thing? The thing comes out with the baby, the thing that's actually feeding the baby the whole time. So anyway, we have saved it, and I'm going to plant it, and and then you bury it, and then you put a plant over, and it's supposed to nourish the plant if you do it right, because it has a lot of nutrients. So anyhow, in order for me to plant this thing, I have to clear the soil. I have to make sure it's very nice. I have to make sure nothing else is crowding it. There can't be any other significant plant nearby strangling the roots. And then I can plant it. So that's what this verse is. Your devotional service is spoiled when we become too entangled in the following 6 activities. Just like the plant's roots become too entangled with other roots around it. That's why when anyone who's an expert agriculturist, they weed. They will take out the things that are not favorable to the growth of what they want to cultivate. So in spiritual life, it's the same way. Krishna even himself compares this world to an upside-down banyan tree. Plants, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu similarly calls our growth of bhakti a creeper. Bhakti lata bij, it starts from a seed and it grows into a creeper. A creeper is like a creeping bush, so like this. So if we want our spiritual life to grow and be nourished, we have to take out the things that spoil it. So these are the things. 1, atyahara, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Also, it's mentioned in the purport, even collecting more knowledge than required. Maybe some of us are really wanting to learn so many things about our career, this, that, and the other thing. The Lord recommends do that, what is necessary for your survival, and then the rest consume about the Lord. We should hear about the Lord. We should hear about the Lord's pastimes, His teachings, His philosophy, all these things. So this is if we don't do this, it'll spoil our bhakti. If we spend our time, because why? This is going to waste all of our time. Time is so valuable. I've been studying a verse in Bhagavatam. It's Labdva sudarlabam idam bahusambhavanti manusya arthadam anitya apiha diraha. And those 2 lines is that which is difficult to obtain. We have somehow obtained it after who knows how many lifetimes. Do you guys all believe in reincarnation? Maybe we don't know. So if you believe in reincarnation, One, that means we've been doing this a long time. But look at all the living entities out there. There's plants, there's insects, there's snakes, there's rats. There's so many living entities. Only a few get to be a human being. Only a few. There's 8,400,000 species, as per the Vedas. The modern scientists won't be able to catch up to that. That's just too many to study. But there's 8,400,000 species. They can try and study them all. And I think they do have some interesting number somewhere up there that they estimate. But the Vedas say 800, and only 400,000 of them in all the planetary systems are human beings. So it's very rare amongst them. And then to actually get a birth as a human being is he says, Manusham Arthadam. It is like the thing of great value, but we should be careful because it is a temporary arrangement. We're only human for so long, maybe 80 years, 100 years. And what it says Turnam Yateta Napatad Anumrityu Yavan. And then it says Nishre Yasaya Vishaya Kalu Sarvatasya. And all of that means is that once you know how rare your birth is, once you know how rare this opportunity is, you should immediately stop everything else you're doing and pursue the ultimate goal of life, Nishreyasaya. Why? Because Vishaya, sense gratification, is available in any species of life. The insects are gratifying their senses, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. The pigs are doing it. Any animal, any plant you can think of, it's all their main processes of living are sense gratification, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Only the human being is doing inquiry into the absolute truth. Only the human being. So if you are a human being, who here is right now in the body of a human being? Kaushik, are you? Yes, Kaushik is also in the body of a human being. So what should we be doing? Someone tell me. Nadia, you know? Yes, pursuing the absolute truth. That's it. Yes. So, but we shouldn't waste our time. So, the reason these things spoil our bhakti is because they waste our time. So we cannot waste our time. So eating more than necessary, that means we have to collect more than necessary, meaning we have to collect more funds than required, so many things like this. 2, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. If we have very, sometimes me and my wife are always like butting heads. What is actually necessary? What do we actually need? And she says, no, we need this. And I'm saying, well, we have to endeavor so hard to get this. And we're always going back and forth. What is actually necessary? And we usually have to meet somewhere in the middle. But you have to endeavor for things. And many things are very difficult to obtain. So find the absolute essentials. The spiritualists are only interested in what's going to keep body and soul together, what's going to allow me to practice my spiritual life properly. No more, no less. And endeavor only so much for those things, and then after that, you see what the Lord provides. So don't over-endeavor. 3, don't talk unnecessarily. We have so little time. We have so little time in the human form of life. If you talk more than necessary, or you waste your time talking about, the cricket match, or this thing, that thing, the other thing, that don't matter, aren't about what's the absolute truth, you'll waste the whole life, The example given is a frog. He'll croak and croak and croak, and all he's doing is inviting the snake to come and devour him. And we talk and talk and talk and forget about what the importance of life is, and next thing you know, death comes for us. We cannot stop it. Just like even myself, even birth, we could not stop. My wife and I had so many ideas of when the baby was going to come. I was like, all right, well, this day that I want you to come would be this good day. And I would talk to the baby in the womb, and I would talk to my wife, and I said, okay, you're going to come this day, half joking, but half serious. I was like, yeah, Krishna will arrange like this. He wants him to come on this day. And once we realized that wasn't the time that he was going to come, we couldn't stop it. I couldn't tell him, please stop. The contractions have started and the labor was beginning. And then once we realized there's no stopping this process, you have to just go through with the process. So this will happen to all of us with death as well. Once it's coming, it will either happen naturally or it'll happen expedited. We don't know. You could get in a car and today it could happen. You never know. You'd be shocked.
Even, I gave Piyush my car to go and pick you guys up. And especially because I'm now paying the insurance, I'm like, wow, I'm worried. You never know what could happen. What could happen, you never know. So anyway, hey Piyush, come on in right here. This is good for you. What's that? No problem. So you come right next to me and stay away from everyone else. Come. So anyhow, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them. We're not like a bunch of fear-based people where, okay, we're only following the rules just to follow the rules. I got to make sure I follow all my rules. Like the Lord has a checklist and like, all right, you followed that rule, you followed that rule, you followed that rule. The rules have a purpose. They're supposed to help you cultivate a deeper spiritual understanding and emotional level. So it's not just for following rules. That's like, who here drives? Yes. Like, if you ever go and, drive on the highway, there's a speed limit. But the unwritten rule is that you actually drive about 10 miles over the speed limit. And then if people were to get in the lanes and only drive the speed limit, it's like very annoying for the rest of us who are just like actually trying to go a little faster than the speed limit, right? So if you're practicing the rules and regulations, you're just like, all right, I got to go by this rule, got to go by this rule. It actually can be done a bit better if you actually understand. Just like when you understand, okay, there's a speed limit, there's stop signs, there's red lights, but there's times where, rolling through the stop sign isn't a big deal. There's times where making the right on red is not a big deal. There's times where, you can kind of bend the rules for appropriate situations. The rules help give you a bumper lane on how to safely practice spiritual life. But it's not about so rigidly doing all the rules. But the other side of Niyamagraha is also just rejecting the rules altogether. Rejecting the rules and regulations. Oh, I can work independently. I make my own rules. No, this is very bad. Just like, you start driving. Well, I'm going to drive on the left side of the road. I don't need red lights anymore. I don't need stop signs anymore. And then you start making your own rules, you're going to get in an accident, you'll disturb everyone else, and you're going to get in trouble. So both of these things are niyamagraha, very bad. They will destroy your bhakti. 5, associating with worldly-minded persons. Worldly-minded people who are not pursuing the absolute truth. This is sad to say, but most people are under the category of what's called the dvipada pashu. Does anyone know what that is? What's dvi? 2. Pada is what? Legged, maybe footed. 2-legged. And then pashu is what? Animals, unfortunately. We talked about there's so many species of life. And every species of life Vishaya is available. Vishaya is sense gratification. Every species of life can eat. Every species of life can get some arrangement for mating. Every species of life can have good arrangements for sleeping. Nice bedding, nice house, nice comfy thing. And then every species of life can acquire all of their desires for their nest or their home and all these things. And then they try to defend them. All right, make sure the bills are paid on time. Make sure this is done, this is done. Every species can do that. Whether they have a cave, whether they have a nest in a tree, whether they have this, that, and the other thing. Every species can do that. A burrow in the sand, it doesn't matter. Or they're rooted into the earth as a plant. But only the human being can pursue the absolute truth. But unfortunately, worldly-minded persons, they are not pursuing the absolute truth. They're pursuing what the rest of the animal and plant life are pursuing. So when we associate with them, they encourage us naturally. Naturally, come on, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is the purpose of life. This is where the fun is. Come on, we got parties centered around this. We've got all these things centered around this. No problem for them, except ultimately they could waste the human form of life, and who knows when they'll get it again. This is very difficult. You can't even imagine how rare this is, to be in a human form of life. I mean, look at all the species of life out there. There's trillions of species, and only a few get to be humans. And now what's to speak of the humans who are actually pursuing the purpose of human life, which is pursuing the truth. So you're all fortunate. But don't waste your time with people who are not interested in that goal, who don't know the point of being a human being. You can share mercy to them if you can, but if inevitably they're not so interested, you just say, okay, I'll see you later. I have some important things to do, and then next time you see him, see if maybe you can share a little more. And then finally, the last is being greedy for mundane achievements. Things that don't matter, I have to be the best of this, or I have to get the topmost position, or I have to be the savior of my family, I have to be the top earner that my family has ever seen, I have to be, who knows, there's so many mundane achievements that really don't matter at the end of life, really don't matter. So if you want to have some nice achievement, be the one person in your family who pursues the absolute truth. This is very nice. And it said that actually you'll deliver 21 generations of your family if you're successful. So now this verse that we've been doing, and we're going to continue, is Utsahan Nishchaya Derya Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyagat Sato Vrite Shadbir Bhakti Prasidhyati. So these are the 6, after we cleared the weeds, we prepared the foundation. Now we're going to plant the bhakti creeper and we're going to let it grow and be nourished. These are the things that we have to do. Also, these are the things that we should detect in our teachers, our mentors. This is what they should be doing. So that is one, being enthusiastic. You have to be enthusiastic in spiritual life. You have to. And also, how are you going to follow somebody, because ideally you're taking guidance. How are you going to follow somebody who's just, all right, another day like this? No. And I know sometimes you have bad days. I know, sometimes, especially this past week, I'm sleeping less than I've ever slept in my entire existence. And I'm wondering, will I ever get sleep again? I don't know. But yes, you still have to try and be enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. If you, especially when you see successful spiritual people, and you follow them sincerely and closely, you can endeavor with confidence. You've seen it's worked for this person. They've achieved something that I'm looking for. It will work for me too. I'm not beyond this. It's possible for me too. No matter who you are, what class of life, what phase of life, your age, your situation, your education, your marriage situation, your career situation, does not matter. Everyone has the availability. Nobody is more fortunate. This is easier in an Indian body, or this is easier in a male's body, or this is easier in... No, everybody can do this. So endeavor with confidence. 3, be patient. Rome was not built in one day. What's the saying, right? And everything, it takes time. We were talking about a plant. Who is seeing that I plant you ever gardened before? Who gardened before? Okay, Tanmay and Michael have gardened. So yeah, you plant the seed, you water it, you put it out in the sun, but now then you just sit there and wait for it to go? Who does that? Who gardens like that? So hold on, boss, I'm just waiting for the plant to grow. And once it grows, I'll pick the fruit and it'll be perfect. Aaron, Hare Krishna, and Judah, and Caius. Very good. Caius, you have an excellent haircut. Jai. Thank you so much, Aaron. Come on in. We're talking about the things that'll make our bhakti plant grow.
I was going to go see if I could help in the kitchen, and I'd probably be able to hear you from there.
Okay.
Sound good?
Michael's got it. Yeah, everything's finished. Come on in. Where's Judah?
He's over here.
Judah, come on in. Haribol.
Sorry for the disruption.
No disruption. I'm so happy to see you. So, right, we just talked about clearing the weeds, the things that are going to spoil our bhakti. Now, these are the things that are going to enhance our bhakti. So we have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to come, all right, well, I came to my first program last week, right, Stephanie? And then now next week, I'm going to be enlightened this week. No problem. Perfect. It'll take some time. Don't worry. And some of you are practicing 2-3 years. Well, why am I not perfect yet? Why am I not making any more mistakes? And why am I, it takes time to, but if you're patient, it's inevitable. The material distractions will leave, the material desires will leave, and what will come instead is you will be completely spiritually focused. I've seen it in my life. It's a miracle, actually, that where I'm at now, compared to where I was in the beginning, I just never thought some things would ever go away from my life. I was very, very attached to very lavish sensual activities in life. Even when I started my spiritual life, I still thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to worship Krishna because he gives all these things anyway. You know, so God gives all these things anyway. So I should worship God just so I can get all the things I want out of life. And then I started getting the things I wanted out of life, and then God tricked me because he made me realize that, oh, now you see that this thing isn't so wonderful after all. And actually, now you're seeing the value of what I've been trying to teach you all along. That actually, your devotional life is the most valuable thing. I'm shocked that these lessons have been learned. I'm shocked that the things that I once thought were driving my life, now I look at many of them, I say, I can't believe I wasted so much time with that thing. But you have to be patient to achieve that. It's taken time. It's taken 8, 9 years of this process. And I'm excited if I give it another 10, 15, 20, 30, maybe 40 more lifetimes even. Who knows the potential. So anyhow. 4, acting according to the regulative principles of bhakti, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. There is a process. You are doing the process right now. We talked about this last week. The first one is what you're doing right now, Shravanam. Hopefully you're doing some Shravanam. I know the phone makes it very difficult to do Shravanam. You know, you come to hear, but all of a sudden, oh my God, this person has texted, or this thing's going on social media, or this. Next thing you know, you're lost in the mode. Shravanam is hearing. If you don't have anything else, everyone should start with their devotional life by hearing about devotional life. Hearing about Krishna, hearing about what Krishna is teaching, hearing about what Krishna wants from us, understanding Krishna, understanding the relationship of us and Krishna, and then the potential of loving him and serving him. And then there's a her element as well. It's equally her and him. But we'll get into that another day. But we should first hear, so important. And then Kirtanam. Kirtanam is sharing, to glorify the Lord. That's why when we do our process, we're chanting Hare Krishna. We're just calling out the names of the Lord. We're glorifying the Lord. It may seem like, what are they doing? Stephanie may be wondering, what are they saying? What is this? What is that? What does that mean? What are we chanting? They do have meanings. It's best to know the meanings. But overall, we're glorifying God, and we're glorifying the process of approaching God. So like this. So Vishnu Smaranam will lead to remembering. You'll also remember by hearing first and then sharing with others. This will help you remember as well. Also, if you take this in your material life, if you want to actually remember something, say if you have a test or an exam, you hear it, and then you share it with someone else. Tell someone else about it. You'll remember that way, and they'll help you remember. That process will allow you to remember. So if you want to know, I know, Aaron, memory is something that you would like more of in your life. The Bhakti scriptures say, here's your solution. First hear what you want to hear, and then share that thing that you want to hear, and you'll remember that thing. So, and if it's spiritual life, that's the most important thing. We were just talking about how it's really the only thing we should hear, if possible. So you might have your great fortune that many of your memories and things are kind of disappearing, because these things probably don't matter that much. So now you have an opportunity to only fill your hearing with things that do matter. And then you feel your sharing with things that matter. And then you'll remember things that matter. And that's good. It's like kind of clearing out the memory drive on your laptop. Sometimes it gets a little overfilled with stuff that's not so important. It's all right, no problem. Let's erase the thing that's not as important, and let's put the important things in. Right? You ever do that? You ever clear your hard drive time to time? Or clear your storage on your phone? Am I the only one who's done it? Yeah, sometimes, all right, that's not so necessary anymore. So this is good, actually. We should Shravanam, we should hear about the absolute truth, pursuing the absolute truth, Kirtanam, share it, and then Vishnu Smaranam. We will remember the truth of the Lord and the really important things. So hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees. So to clear out the weeds, we had to stop associating with worldly minded people, and also to grow it, the same thing. Those who are non-devoted, they're going to distract you because they have a different pursuit of life. They have a different pursuit, and for them, unfortunately, they're still in a level of ignorance where they don't know that pursuing the Lord is of the topmost importance. What do they know instead? Well, I think if I eat, I sleep, I mate, and I defend, I can be happy this way. And maybe you'll help me with this. Come on, let's go pursue this together. And we start chatting about how we can, make lavish arrangements for this. This is almost everybody. This is almost every animal. Everybody, this is the illusory direction of everyone and everything in this life. But actually, we have to, if we want to make serious advancement, we should really abandon the association of the non-devoted. There is time for associating with them, but it's when you get strong. When you get strong, then you can share with them. And then when they don't want to hear it anymore, because a lot of times they don't want to hear it, you just take a break. All right, I'll come back in a month, or I'll come back in a week, or I'll come back in a few days. Right now, we have family members. My mother and father and brothers are coming. My wife's mother and father are currently downstairs with her and the baby. And it's not like, they're fully on board with what we're doing. It's not like they're like, yes, we're pursuing the absolute truth. We want to follow the 9 processes of bhakti, and this is what we're doing now. Our children have done it, now we will do it. No, so they're kind of just like, what the heck are you guys doing? But they love us, they support us, no problem. But we realize that if we, every day, what they're doing in their lives and what we're doing in our lives, if we have to intermingle every step of the way, every day, it's actually not ideal. They have a different pursuit of life right now, and we have a different pursuit of life, and they don't mix that well. So, just like 2 plants growing in different ways, you don't want to mix, my father-in-law just bought us an azalea bush. Azaleas, I think it's nice, a nice flower. And my mother-in-law just bought us a rose bush. And maybe if we add it up, if I combine the azaleas and the rose bush, maybe I'll have an azalea rose bush, and it'll be amazing. Does this sound like a good gardening technique? Maybe I should plant them together. Judas and Caius are saying no. You guys have gardened before.
We've grown crops.
Yes.
I've grown crops, but I have surface level knowledge, but at least I know that is not ideal.
Yes.
Plants have different requirements. They have different needs.
Yes, that's right. And when you are in your spiritual life, your requirements and needs will be different from someone who is engaged in worldly life. So if you cross them too much, or even if you cross them and plant yourself right next to them and grow together, it will be a bad idea. It's better that the person who's growing a spiritual plant goes on this little plot, and it's better that a person who's growing the worldly plant goes on this little plot. And hopefully Krishna plucks them out of their worldly plot at some point and replants them in the spiritual plot. But that will take maybe some time. But you root into your spiritual life. Yes, Caius?
But actually, in some cases, it could be good. Let's take apples for some examples. Sometimes 2 apple breeds mix and make a new one. Other plants can actually...
Yes. But actually, even that, you don't want to grow 2 apple trees right next to each other and like that. But these are also material examples. They're not ultimately...
But sometimes it is possible to mix 2 things together. That was just...
Maybe. In planting life, there may be... it's good to do 1 plant at a time, because it will... the roots, they entangle, and then they hurt each other and things like that. But anyhow... These are only just crude examples, by the way. It's not like, your spiritual life is now a gardening class. There's a bit more to it.
Understand the concept.
Yes, the analogy so you can understand, yes. So anyhow, in last 6 is following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. There are people who this have worked from. They have perfected their life and they've reached the level of perfection we're looking for. If we follow in their footsteps, not that we try and imitate them. Oh, Prabhupada, he only slept 2 hours a night. I'm now only going to sleep 2 hours a night. What you don't understand is that Prabhupada took many years of sleeping a little less, and then he could sleep 2 hours a night. Prabhupada did this all night, his spiritual activity. Now I'm going to just fill my day just like Prabhupada. No, Prabhupada, he started from doing a little spiritual activity in his childhood, and progressively more and more throughout his life. He has a process. He had a path, footsteps. So this is the process. You follow in the footsteps of those who made a difference. In Christianity, the same thing. To be Christian means to be Christ-like. But you're not going to be Christ-like overnight. Even Christ in his life, what did he do? From the age of 12 to 30, he went missing from the what's known as the Bible now. And tales are, he actually was all over the world, studying different religions and practicing and preaching and doing so many things before he went back to Israel and finished the job, so to say. So in order to do these things, we have to follow in the footsteps of the previous great teachers. So in modernity, we have great saints like our acharyas featured on the altar here, and then our amazing incarnation, Sachisuta Nitai, who only 550 years ago, they led the path on how to do this devotional life. And you can learn the process. One of their devotees, Sri Rupa Goswami, he's giving this teaching, this Upadeshamrita. So anyway, let's actually read a little bit from Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll have prasad. So we ended this last time. In all phases of life, one has to perform devotional activities under the direction of the spiritual master in order to attain perfection in bhakti yoga. It is not that one has to confine or narrow one's activities. Krishna is all-pervading. Therefore, nothing is independent of Krishna, as Krishna himself states in Bhagavad Gita. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagada vyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavestita. And he says, by me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one has to make everything favorable for Krishna's service. For example, at present, we are using a dictaphone. So when Prabhupada was writing a lot of these books, including this book, he wasn't like pen and paper, nor was he typing on a typewriter. He was speaking these things into like a microphone or a dictaphone, and it would record it, and then his disciples would be able to put it into text. So he's saying, for example, at present we're using a dictaphone. The materialist who invented this machine intended it for businessmen or writers of mundane subject matters. He certainly never thought of using the dictaphone in God's service, but we are using this dictaphone to write Krishna-conscious literature. Of course, the manufacture of the dictaphone is wholly within the energy of Krishna. All the parts of the instrument, including the electronic functions, are made from different combinations and interactions of the 5 basic types of material energy, namely Bhumi, which is earth, Jala, which is water, Agni, which is fire, Vayu, which is air, and Akash, which is ether or space. The inventor used his brain to make this complicated machine, and his brain as well as the ingredients were supplied by Krishna. According to the statement of Krishna, Matsthani sarva bhutani, everything is depending on my energy. Thus the devotee can understand that since nothing is independent of Krishna's energy, everything should be dovetailed in his service. So because everything is the Lord's, we should use everything. Look, we have this cell phone here. Many people probably notice, Aaron, do you like when the kids are on the cell phone or the video games too much?
Not too much, no.
Yeah, it's seeming like it's really a detrimental thing.
Sometimes not at all, depending on what they repeat afterwards.
Yes, exactly. But if they somehow or other were using these things purely in the Lord's service, somehow it would be good. I don't know how, we haven't figured out all the ways to use all the things in the Lord's service as of yet. But there are ways, like for instance, we're recording and sharing spiritual knowledge via the phone, even via social media, things like that. Everything is part of the energy of the Lord. And Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs or any of the people responsible for creating these things, it wasn't their intention to, we're going to make something that we can use in the Lord's service, at least to my knowledge. But everything is God's energy. God gives the intelligence to everyone, even the great materialist, even the great demonic person to make the atomic weapons, all these things. God ultimately gives, even actually very famously, when Robert Oppenheimer watched, he was very responsible for the first atomic bomb. When the first atomic bomb went off, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita. He quoted a verse called "Time I am the destroyer of worlds." He actually misquoted it. He wasn't that good at the Bhagavad Gita, but he did his best. He immediately saw that, and he immediately thought of what he read in the Bhagavad Gita, which is very interesting, actually. But even those type of things, everything is the Lord's energy and can be used in the Lord's service. So the spiritual master, he teaches us actually how to do that, everything. Someone with spiritual intelligence and Ultimately, they've perfected their life. They've gone through the process. They serve their spiritual master, and their spiritual master has helped raise them to the next level and qualified them. They can tell us how to do the same, but we have to follow in their footsteps. So anyhow, Prabhupada is letting us know. So now he's actually getting into each one thing. So he says, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha, or enthusiasm. So you're enthusiastic when your endeavor is executed with an intelligence. Then you can be enthusiastic. If you're just being forced to do something, or if I'm like, Tanmai, do this, Tanmai, Piyush, come on, do this, do this, do this. And I'm just telling you what to do all the time, you probably won't be so enthusiastic. Okay, yes, okay. But if you know that, like, all right, this is actually, if you do seva, you do this process, it's going to be really good. And even whether you want material desires, whether you want spiritual desires, no matter what, if you know that if your intelligence is working nicely and that following this process will give you something nice, you can be enthusiastic about it. Someone who's enthusiastic about trying to go extract pleasure out of the young boy and young girl party life. The girls are real enthusiastic to dress up and meet the boys. The boys are real enthusiastic to dress up and meet the girls. Why? Because their intelligence is telling them that this is the only way I'm going to get lucky. I'm going to get what I want. Here's some alcohol. Here's some things. Let's make the mood right. Let's go here. And they're very enthusiastic to do like that. But if we use that same enthusiasm in spiritual life, we can be successful. If that same enthusiasm, instead of getting enthusiastic for which is available in any species of life, we use that enthusiasm which is only available in the human form of life, of pursuing the absolute truth, understanding who am I, what is the meaning of life, what should I really be doing, how can I be happy? All these things. If you're a human being, you should ask these questions. If you haven't asked these questions yet in your life, we haven't fully come to the platform of what a human being can do. This is what a human being should do. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So I'm just going to Google foreground. I know background, but foreground must be in the front, the thing that's very the part of you that is nearest to the observer. So where am I here? So, but practical action in the foreground of life. So meaning that everything we do in spiritual life should be the number one thing that's always in front. Can I use this thing in devotional service? Is this activity I'm doing good for my spiritual life? If this isn't in the front of your life, then you're going to be doing a bunch of things that are going to destroy your bhakti instead and destroy your enthusiasm as well. Maybe some of you are having a hard time being enthusiastic in all of your duties in life. Is that true? Am I the only one? But if you know that duty can be used in the Lord's service, and that's your conviction at that point, I want to be a devotee of the Lord, I have a sufficient intelligence that there is a God, I have a relationship with God, and it's in my best interest and it's most pleasing to Him that I render some service to Him with my life. If you know that every single thing you'll do, that will be in the foreground, that will be the number one thing you have to do, and you'll be enthusiastic to see, okay, how can I have this going on in my life, this, and balancing all these things. How can I use all these things to serve God? All of these things. And you'll find, an example, I had a funeral the other day. Not the other day, the other weeks, a few weeks ago. You guys remember I all left for the funeral, right? So funerals are normally sad times. Funerals are, not like so pleasing or things like that. But I saw, you know what? I can be there for my family, I can be comforting, and then also I can maybe share some spiritual wisdom. And even though it was very difficult because it's not like, we were just talking about how important it is to associate with devotees, and not that most of my relatives were not, that's not their focus of life, right? So it was actually quite difficult for me, but I was able to stay enthusiastic because I was seeing everything, all my relationships with them, everything that I could do while I was there as an opportunity for service. And I felt satisfied when I returned that there was a few good opportunities for service, because I do have a fairly spiritual family where some people were really able to take something positive, I think, from our interactions. So we all have this in our life. You know, it could be as simple as I was on the phone with, I don't know, I think the insurance agency yesterday. You know, I don't want to do all these crunch these numbers with insurance agencies and finding the right thing and all these things. They seem so boring. But I can enthusiastically do them because I know this is what's going to support this spiritual project here. I have to do this thing. I can do this with enthusiasm. And at the end of the phone, I was like, all right, you know, we negotiated a nice deal on what we were going to do. And then I said, all right, Hare Krishna. And they're like, and I just hung up the phone. They don't know what it means, but, you know, I give some, like, you know, it's just kind of pleasurable to me just to create some, like, random interaction like that in life. But, you know, they heard the name of God. They don't know what it was. I didn't explain it to them, but I just said Hare Krishna, no problem. So anyway, you can use everything, even a conversation with somebody. Everyone is different. I mean, I kind of have a certain personality, and we all have certain personalities, you know, so you have to be unique to how you can interact in the world. But you can use everything in Krishna's service. Nothing's independent of Krishna's energy. So, the execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. Now the next one, these activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly. When Prabhupada came here, he came by himself. And he, ultimately, all he had was the instructions of his gurus, and he not one of his godbrothers was very, very helpful. He tried to get a lot of help from them, but they had their own projects and ways that they wanted to serve, and they didn't necessarily believe in him. Some ended up helping later on, but most in the beginning there was not much help. So he was here for like a whole year without seeing not very much happen. If he was impatient, he would have just went back to India and gave up like all who came before him did. But he kept going, and he kept endeavoring with enthusiasm, and he had faith in the instructions of his Guru Maharaj, and ultimately he came out extremely successful. So he's saying, the movement was started single-handedly. In the beginning, there was no response. But because we continue to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement. And now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna-conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. Hare Krishna, Nadia. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. So we're explaining some of the things in this verse. I just viscerally experienced this. Me and my wife wanted a child for some years. But there was many things that we didn't necessarily understand on how, nor were we ready for a child. I look back now and I think, wow, thank God. I'm seeing what it takes to have a child even in only the first 4 days. And I'm like, wow, I'm glad it came at this point in my life and not any sooner, because I was not ready until exactly now. And even now I don't know if I'm ready. But it's here now and I cannot stop it at this point.
I'm still not ready.
Yes. I don't know if I ever can be ready. But you know what? I'm much more ready now than I would have been even a year ago, and like this. So we have to be patient and know it will come. You know, some of you are hoping for the next opportunity in your life. But know that this thing is Krishna will surely always protect you and give you exactly what you need. And he will give you help for the execution of devotional life, devotional service. That he will always give you help for, no problem. He may not give you help for all of your other mundane desires. He may not do it. If you want to be the richest person in the world, he may not give you the help that you need to fulfill that desire. But if you want to serve him to the best of your ability, he'll always give you the help that you need. If you want to do the topmost thing of life, what he recommends in all of his scriptures, in every great religion, what everyone recommends, become a servant of God, love God and serve God, he'll always give you the help to do that. And he'll always give you the tools that you need. So anyhow, that's the point of what we're doing here. We're trying to inspire and give you guys the tools that we need. Even here, we started out, they had some programs here. They invited us to some programs, and we met the owners of this house. It's amazing how this progressed over the years. And now people come every day to practice spiritual life with us. It's amazing. See you later, Nadia. And now people come every day to practice spiritual life with us. And now it just feels so wonderful, but it didn't happen overnight. And it took some endeavor, and it took a lot of patience and confidence, and we needed a ton of help. Tej has been here from the beginning. He saw it even before I got here. He can tell you, it grew over the years. But now you see, over time, things, it's nice. I forgot to text everyone today, and I felt bad about it, actually. And I forgot to say, all right, just remind you I'll have a program. And so when, in the beginning here, Kashik was here before, he's like, is there no one coming today? And I said, oh, well, I think so. I think we sent for you, someone is coming. And now, by good fortune, people are coming. And every day, we always get at least like some person dropping in, wanting to hear about spiritual life, wanting to join us for our practices. And this is very small. But what Srila Prabhupada did was so big. It was so big. It was so amazing what he did. And so if we just keep following and we keep being patient and endeavoring with confidence, it's amazing what will happen in your life. It's amazing, actually. But you take to the process that you're guaranteed success in, and that's devotional service. So that's the process. I'm humbly requesting, please join the process to whatever degree that you can. It's 7:33, so we should end here. We end at 7:30 now, but not really. We usually end around 7:40, 7:45. Would you, any questions or anything before we do a little kirtan and then end?
The question guys are in the back now.
Brajesh.
No. He can ask, Kayas and Judah.
Caius and Judah. So any questions or anything? You got it. You all want to take to devotional service in your life? Does it sound like a good idea? Or maybe if you're not convinced that is the ultimate goal of life, would you maybe want to pursue deeper into what is the ultimate, the ultimate good? Jigasyu, there's a verse, Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigasyu Shreya Uttamam. So therefore one should approach a guru, Jigasyu, if one is inquisitive, Shreya, into the good, Uttamam, the topmost. If you're actually inquisitive, what is the ultimate good of life? You should find somebody who knows. So at the very least, is that maybe something that you'd be interested in, is finding the ultimate good of life? You nod your head yes or no.
Indian, yes.
Everyone, yes, Indian, yes. You're like, that to me, that just means that I don't know. Oh, they don't know. I have to ask again. So,
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned that Shravana is one of the most important stepping stone in devotional service. So here now and then everyone is on their headphones and they listen to something. So what, according to you, is appropriate to listen? If you're not having a sadhu sangha, it happens every week or bi-weekly. So what is the best means to listen to and what to listen to, and is there a particular time and every to listen to?
Yes. So I can tell you, I don't get a lot of time in my life to listen to many things. I would like to, but especially right now, it's very hectic. But listening on the headphones and reading, it can be synonymous. So let's say you're walking and headphones are your best opportunity to listen. Anyone can go, there's a channel on YouTube called The Acharya. and every day they post one lecture of Srila Prabhupada. You know, Srila Prabhupada is a realized saint. He is someone who actually executed with devotional service, and you saw it worked amazingly for him, and he did an amazing spiritual service to the world. He wrote all these wonderful books we're reading and deriving benefit. For me, the topmost thing that I like to listen to is, and most reliable and guaranteed thing, I listen to many things, and I've listened, but the foundation for me is listening to Srila Prabhupada. He's got thousands of hours of lectures online. So if you have, say, 15 minutes in the day, maybe you have an hour in the day. People have different, I mean, we're out there trying to talk to the students at the university, and half of them, they're in headphone land. It would be ideal if they were in headphone land with Srila Prabhupada, but it's likely not the case. But yes, Shravanam, you know, but you have to understand what Shravanam actually is. There is an element that you can do impersonally online. I'll give you an example. Srila Prabhupada was saying, one of his disciples was saying, well, Srila Prabhupada, if you're just in your books and you have everything in your books, or maybe we can say now, if you have everything in your recorded lectures, what's the need of approaching to a guru? And then Srila Prabhupada, he reached across the table, he grabbed his ear and he twisted his ear. And then he's like, you know, and then he says, because via the book and via the lecture, I cannot do this. So meaning if you are just like, oh, I'm just going to rely, I'll read books, or I'm just going to hear Srila Prabhupada, I will do Shravanam that way. That is like a supplementary Shravanam that is like, it's good, but it's not going to lead you to perfection. The actual Shravanam is going directly to that person and hearing from them. And then they'll see that, okay, you know, if you're off track, they'll figuratively or literally twist your ear. And that, like that. And that's actually, that will be the most ideal Shravanam. Yes, but let's just say in headphones, just keeping it back to that realm of questions, I like to listen to Srila Prabhupada. For me, I have about 12 minutes every day I get to listen to something. And that 12 minutes, now that was before the baby. I haven't found any time since the baby. But if I find time again, it will be that, to listen to Srila Prabhupada, that Acharya channel. There's thousands of hours of all his lectures, and I would say, if anyone listened to that, you will make so much advancement. But don't think that's enough. You should also come in sadhu sangha, and you should approach seniors who can twist your ear too, because you know they'll see if you're you know, because we inevitably make mistakes and we go off the rails a little bit. So you want to be around someone who can put you back on track.
Ron Newman is asking, is there an event coming up in Auburn?
Who is?
Ron Newman.
Yes, Ron. Thank you for joining us. There is an event in Auburn, two events in Auburn. One event I want to say is Saturday morning of, not this Saturday, 2 Saturday mornings from now in Auburn at, I will have to get back to you on the time because I don't know. I want to say like 11 a.m. or something like that, but I don't know for sure. But we have a Devaki Devi Dasi. She's a woman ascetic. She's coming to Auburn sometime Saturday morning. Not this upcoming Saturday, 2 Saturdays. I think it's May 3rd is the day. So if Ron is still listening, yes, there's something in Auburn. Very good. So can we do 5 minutes of kirtan? And maybe we can do so with a little more enthusiasm. We know what we're doing. We're saying, okay, even if, you know, like if I were Stephanie, for instance, you know, I was totally weirded out when I first started associating with devotees and things like, what the heck are they doing? You know, but I had like my thing that I would do is like, all right, I will try this out. I don't know what it means. I really hope I'm not worshiping the devil or something like this. That was like kind of what was going through my head. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But I thought, you know what? In my heart, I was like, Lord, I'm trying to approach you. I don't have a better option in my life. I need to find the ultimate truth, and you're the only one who can give it to me. So if everyone chants with that type of, at least that type of attitude, the Lord will reciprocate. I can promise you that. So even if you don't know, you're not sure, well, this is pretty weird, but maybe he looks happy, but I'm not sure. He could totally be faking it, or I don't know. I don't, even know what to look for. Don't worry about it. But if we're chanting the Lord's name, this is the recommendation. This is the recommendation in the Bible. From sun up to sundown, the sun is about to set, so we should get started. But this is what one should do. In our tradition, it's Kirtaniya Sadahari, meaning we always are calling out, we're always chanting the Lord's name, we're always approaching the Lord in this way. And everything will be revealed from there. It's the easiest process we can do. So would you guys like to chant for at least 5 minutes time? Michael, do I have a mridanga player?
Yes, I'll be right there.
Okay. So thank you who joined online.